Peggy 7.
With me is Joe Fricano, producer on Ancient Space. Just for someone that's entirely new to this game, it's a RTS with some RPG elements in space with a lot of action. Or how would you describe it? Just an elevator pitch.
That's a pretty good description. You don't construct buildings for the sake of constructing buildings. Everything is geared toward either expanding your ability to attack and explore, or to defend the areas of space that you fly around in. So we have three basic resources. One is tritium, which is kind of a... go deep into sci-fi here and say it's the metal that you construct stuff out of.
All right, yeah. Every sci-fi story has its metal, yeah.
So
unobtainium. That's the best one so far.
Unobtainium, exactly. And then we have energy, and we have replicants. Now this is kind of funny because a lot of we've seen some people write online about how creepy this actually is, because it's the ships are crewed in large amount by replicants. We don't really explain them in the game, but replicants they're not really the Roy Batty replicants from Blade Runner. They're not that human, so it's not like we're treating these creatures like callously and coldly. I would say that they're biomechanical kind of machines, but they're not living beings. So you basically have these three resources, and they sort of, depending on what ships you want to build, or what buildings you want to build, they of course cost different amounts of each. You usually start a mission with a set amount of resources, and if you look at right now, Matt is zooming around these sort of circled off areas in space. They are resource points that you can capture and fortify. So on the one hand, you fly around in different areas of each mission. You can leave behind fortifications that sort of secure your income of energy. And what you do is you capture these areas, and you can choose to fortify them with different kinds of turrets, or buildings as we like to call them. They can be defensive turrets or offensive turrets. And that's sort of really the only base building you do, is capturing these areas, because again, this is a mission of exploration. We want
you're not setting up a colony.
Exactly. We're not setting up a colony. We're investigating things. So we want to keep the main sort of story reason for capturing these zones would be to keep all your tactical, like, escape and defense routes open. Our goal is that this should be a fairly difficult game.
All right.
When you fail the game, it's going to be because you weren't paying attention, because you missed something somewhere, because you were not doing the right things to keep up your strategy. So, I mean, the game will keep you, most of the time, the game will keep you on your toes. That is a hidden area. So each level contains a number of these that you can fly around and find out what they are, and they could be a new resource or something, or a little bit of a new upgrade module or something. So again, it pays for the completionist. It pays to fly around, explore, and grab all these things. Movement is full 3D, XYZ axis. You can move in two ways. One, you can just select your unit and right click, or you can do and then the game will sort of decide where in space you will go on that point and plane. If you attack a unit that is in another axis than you are, it will go up towards that unit. Or if you go to a building that is more on a flat plane, a lot of you can see that a lot of the areas are actually on the flat plains, but that's to keep them manageable. But then you have, like, here you can see the buildings to the right are slightly higher up than the ones to the left.
There are of course going to be a lot of strategical options.
Yeah,
of course,
but I mean, if you want to send a ship really high up, you can do so. And if you hold down, I think we've still got it mapped to the shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Then you can select how deep in the axis you want the ship to go. So if you want to do more slow, really meticulous movement, you bring up the movement circle as Matt is doing now, and then you bring up the ladder, and as you can see, he's sending the ship straight up and out. I would say in a lot of I have to say before I go into that, if you're watching this, look at this. We're getting ahead of ourselves here, but Matt's showing you this is the tutorial level, and the tutorial is just it's there's no story in it or anything. It really is just a tutorial. This is how the game works, and you can see the tremendous amount of work Creative Forge have put into this game. Each level in the game is completely hand-built, unique. Besides the ships, very little is reused. There are a few general staples, of course, that are reused, like wormholes in the ships and stuff. But every level is like a piece of art in itself. And if you look at how they've constructed this level with all these weird formations and things, and this is just for the tutorial. The theme of the game is sort of deep space exploration. So you're on kind of a set path. You're going somewhere. You're always going somewhere. You're on this like sort of huge journey kind of thing to discover the mysteries of what's going on in the Black Zone. So you have sort of a mobile base of operations, which is your flagship. It's called the Ulysses 2, and this is your Starship Enterprise, your Serenity, your Battlestar Galactica, and this is your sort of aircraft carrier and your construction facility that builds all new units and such, and it's something that always has to survive. You can customize it, you can make it more building focused or construction focused or more combat oriented, and you can decide, you can send it into battle if you want and use it like a destroyer, a battering ram, or you can keep it just as a defensive kind of thing and hold it back. You have just about all the characters in the game can be used by the player in some fashion. Before each mission, you can select a roster of up to 3 characters, and each character has special abilities, or one special ability. It can be it can aid construction, or it can be some special shield mechanic, or a special weapon, or just other types of combat bonuses, depending on which character you choose. A science-focused character will have something more science-focused, and a more combat-focused character will have something combat-oriented. It's mainly a linear story, but if you find certain characters, you will gain more clues as to what the story is about and what's going on in the background of the story, like deeper knowledge kind of stuff, and it will affect some things later in the game. Right on screen right now, you have the Ulysses 2, which is your sort of aircraft carrier. It's pretty huge. The first thing that we did when we sat down with the developers was said, well, okay, this is a game with, for all intents and purposes, even if the scale in the game is huge, this is a game about tiny spaceships on a tiny screen blowing up other tiny spaceships on the tiny screen. And that means that we need to have a story that takes this into account. We can't do a deep emotional character piece kind of thing, because it's not going to work. It's just it can't be about the troubles of individual characters or whatever. It has to be something broader. And one of the things that at least I personally feel is that so many games they do, when they do game stories, they, even games that are serious, a lot of games that even are trying to be serious, they turn into melodramas that are very heavy on exposition and things, and you bring in actors and you don't let the actors hold back enough, and you get a tinge of overacting, and everything sort of turns into not a, I don't know how to describe it, but really, but it's just a lot of games pile on the story too thick. Billions of years ago, two dark stars collided and created this sort of crazy place with wormholes and debris where the laws of physics don't really apply always and such. And as it happens, this area also contains a lot of resources that the Earth has been exploiting for X amount of years. What we learn that there is, inside this zone, there is an alien species that we on Earth have dubbed it the Scythe. We have had extremely little contact with the species. There was some contact like long ago, many years ago. It was brief, it was violent, and since then no contact has really been had. We left them alone, they left us alone, and but as the outskirts of this zone have become more plundered of all their resources, Earth has basically started abandoning it. So it's become this. The outskirts have become infested with pirates and scavengers and such, and it's sort of this kind of a no-fly zone that Earth ships don't really go there. But all of a sudden, things start to happen in this zone. It starts to expand, and nobody knows why it's expanding.
It's Ancient Space. It's coming out September 23rd. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be 19.99 euros, but you can also pre-order it right now on ancientspace.com.